Okay, I think we are live. Let me do some sound check. Yeah. Okay, so we are live, Ajay.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll just give an intro. Thanks everyone for joining. I believe that this is getting streamed and a lot of people can benefit out of this. So I'll just give an intro. So Canada IT Club, basically, Canada IT Club is a community based out of Canada, which is mainly focused on building the professional relationship between the IT professionals. We also have the meetups, which is set up on a regular basis, which is useful for sharing the information and to build our professional network. So we have recorded and published all our previous sessions in YouTube. So in case anyone wants to see our previous sessions, feel free to go and watch in the YouTube. So we have two upcoming sessions planned this week, which is like intro to Chat GPT, which is tomorrow, and we have a project managers meetup, which is on Wednesday. So today we are meeting with a regulated immigration consultant who will try to answer all of our questions. So I have invited Ajay from LLC Immigration. Thanks, Ajay, for accepting the invite, and it's a pleasure for you being here.
Thank you, Sudhir.
Okay. So Ajay, we will get started. So can you just give an intro about you, and from there we can get started.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ajay Gupta, and I'm a regulated immigration consultant. My company name is LCC Immigration. Uh, so we have four locations right now in and around Toronto. Uh, like on our board, like basically we have another 3 to 4 consultants who are working, and we have a big process team. We are here in Canada for the last 7 years, and if you just Google us, or if you see our reviews online for LCC Immigration, you will find us on one of the top rated immigration companies in Canada. Uh, Based out of India, my background is from Hyderabad. And if there are people live from Hyderabad side, they might be knowing a company called as LCC Infotech over there, which was an IT consulting and IT training and placement company. We were there for almost 30 years. So the roots are from India, and the same name we are carrying it over here. And we do all kind of immigrations, which can start from a very scratch, like a visiting visas, super visas, then coming to permanent residencies, spousal sponsorships, the big time LMIAs and the work permits. Then we have ICTs, intra-company transfers. We have startup visas. So we have everything under one roof, depending upon your needs, what exactly is your profile. Then we can guide like which model will suit you, because immigration is a vast, it's a huge ocean, and we need to really pick it up which stream it goes, because day by day immigration is getting difficult. But at the same time, Canada is always encouraging immigrants. They keep announcing different streams for provinces or which are less populated provinces to get more people over there. So there is everything which, as a consultant, we'll be knowing first. So we can always, touch base, check the profiles, and then can guide you where exactly you will land up. So this is the brief thing, Sudhir, what we are starting with.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ajay. Thanks, Ajay, for the intro. So, when I said that we are going to have this session, few people buzzed me offline and they have few questions. So they are from outside of Canada. So the first question they asked is like, is the Express Entry the only program for immigrating to Canada? Can you just give a some idea about it?
No, Express Entry is a regular program of immigrating to Canada, but that's a federal program. But there are a lot of other provinces, like you talk about Alberta, or you talk about Atlantic provinces like New Brunswick or uh, Prince Edward, like the provinces which comes under that. So there are different streams for PNPs also. Express Entry is a one mainstream, but unfortunately, what's happening in Express Entry is people are not making enough points. The draw which happened last time was around 500, and it's very difficult from South Asian countries to people have points near to that particular CRS. So what we are doing is we work with different provinces. That's what I told you. You have something called as an LMIA. If your scores are less than Express Entry, because everybody will create profiles in Express Entry. So then,
That's right.
if your points are, say, you are an IT professional and you're sitting at 400, 430, then we basically add up LMIA points to you. Another 50 points will be added. You jump to 480. So that way, it's easier to get PR. But yes, other than express entry, there are so many streams available.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, that's great info. So, can you just briefly explain how this LMIA process works? Because that's a black box for a lot of people who's inside Canada or outside Canada. They are not aware about LMIA. They know what is LMIA, but unfortunately, they are not sure what or how LMIA process work. Can you just give an just a end-to-end process for the LMIA?
Sure. So LMI is basically labor market impact assessment. Whenever a Canadian company is hiring a foreign worker means who is not a permanent resident or a citizen. Even he can be a student in Canada, even he can be a worker in Canada, or even he can be anybody outside Canada. So if a Canadian company is hiring a foreign worker, then first what they need to do is they need to prove Canadian government that they didn't get the specific skill set over here. So they didn't find a person over here like a permanent resident or a citizen, and that's the reason they're hiring this temporary foreign worker. So that's the process which is called as LMIA. Being a consultant, we say a Canadian company hire us, and they say they want to hire say software engineer. Okay, so we run the advertisements for them first, and once we don't get a suitable person, we have to give first opportunity to Canadians, because we don't want to ruin their jobs. So once there is no specific person for work as a software engineer, then what we do, there will be a lot of foreign workers. Like say you are sitting in India or you are sitting in Singapore, you are seeing the job bank, you're applying online. So then the employers say, okay, this skill set for this XYZ person is very, very good, and let me have an interview with him. Then they call you, they take your interview, and if everything is good, they give you an offer letter. So using that, they apply your LMIA to Canadian government, which goes to Service Canada. And once Service Canada is basically satisfied with what recruitment efforts you have done, and they see, oh, you didn't get a talent here and you're picking up this guy, then they're given positive assessment. So once the LMI is approved, then the second stage comes. A lot of people have this myth like LMI is done and my job is done. No, it's not like that. LMIA is only done for a Canadian company to hire a foreign worker. But still now, the ball comes to your court as a foreign worker. You need to prove that you are eligible for that LMIA, so which is basically called as work permit. So you need to apply your work permit. So say the LMI is done for software engineer. So then all your qualifications, experiences should match that software engineer duties. So in that case, we apply work permit for the applicant. And once the work permit is approved, then technically you can come to Canada as a worker. You gain additional 50 points for your LMIA. You work in Canadian experience for 1 year, you get another 60, 70 points additional. So then your life will be very, very easy for the permanent residency. So this is how the LMI process works. So the process time is around 4 months.
Okay. No, this is a great deal of information because a lot of people doesn't know LMIA. As I said, they said that can I get a job with LMIA? So that's a kind of misconception. I think you cleared it. I think that's a lot of information. So there is a question by Sajid like, can companies provide LMIA for IT roles when there are already many searching for jobs? So right now,
Yeah, see, that's how it happens because IT is a booming sector. If you are updated with the latest updates from immigration, they have even opened occupation based draws, and in which healthcare and IT is on the top priority. There is a definite labor shortage on healthcare and IT streams. So they basically introduced something called as a STEM, in which technology, engineering, and all that stuff they're picking up. They're doing occupation based draws. So yes, there are a lot of IT companies in Canada, and there are a lot of people working in IT. They still need a lot many people over here. So yes, if you see, always what I tell people sitting outside, keep looking on Job Bank. So Job Bank is one of the portals. When we do LMIA, there is a mandatory requirement to advertise on that. So if you see anything on Job Bank related to your IT stream, see, IT is very big, Sudhir, as you know much better than me.
yep,
So there are a lot of streams, right? You have business analysts, you have project management, you have softwares, a lot of knock codes also. So if you see something which is matching your skill set, do apply. There is no harm in applying over there. And you never know if the employer calls you or if the HR calls you, then you say, okay, blah, blah, I'm sitting in India. This is my skill set. And if they think, yes, you are very, very good, they might apply LMI for you. And once you have the LMI, then you can apply your work permit. So IT is real booming sector. A lot of people can get opportunities. I think, Sudhir, if they can get in touch with you as well, you can help them. And then as an immigration consultant, I'll patch up with the employers and can help them in securing jobs and the LMIs.
sure. So there is one question which is related to that. That is. Uh, One second. Yeah. So for when they apply the LMIA, right, or when they apply for these jobs, uh, do the companies, is there any obligation by the companies or the employer when they provide this offer letter
Yes.
or this?
This is a contract for 2 to 3 years, depending upon which jobs. If the job is low wage, then it is 2 years work permit. If it is 3 years, if it is a high wage, it is 3 years work permit. And when you get an LMIA based work permit, it is a closed work permit. You cannot work technically for any other company. On SIN, if you're working only for the company who has provided you LMIA, because on the work permit, the employer's name is being listed over there. So that's always an obligation. It should not happen that employer has done all the efforts and hired you, and then later you start working for somebody else. Then he lose all the time and money which he has put in securing the LMIA. So that's the reason government protects their interest and makes sure that employee works only for that company. You cannot even work for any other location for the same company. So that's the requirement of LMIA based work permit.
Oh, that's great. That is to protect the employer, right? So from
Exactly.
okay. So another question. So this has been the most popular question for the past 2 months. Can I come in visitor visa and join a company or just do a job search? How does that work? Because that is something which I think recently someone posted it, and there was a lot of discussion in the online forums. How can I come as in as a visitor visa, and can I just apply for any jobs, or should it be like jobs with the LMIA? Can you just give an idea about it?
Yes. See, I told you 2 stages of LMIA. First is securing LMIA and then applying work permit. First stage, securing LMIA, is a company based. So, irrespective you are a visitor or you're outside Canada, will not hamper that thing. LMIA is secured by a Canadian company, which takes around 4 months to get the LMIA. Now, second stage come when you have to apply for the work permit. If you're already a visitor in Canada, then what you can do is a flagpole. So flagpole is what you can go to the Canadian and US border side. You cross the Canadian border, come back from the US side, and the same day you get the work permit. So flagpole is saving time. If I'm applying work permit online, say you're sitting in India and I'm applying online, it again takes 2 months, 3 months, depends upon country specific. From UAE, it's taking right now 11 months for the work permit. So we always recommend, if you already have a visiting visa, just visit Canada. Your LMIA is ready. Take the documents, go to the border, do the flag polling, and get the work permit then and there. So it saves a lot of time for you. And also, I think a lot of people have this confusion, because I know back home there are a lot of consultants who are called as ghost consultants, who basically keep manipulating the things and keep targeting the innocent people. There was a statement from IRCC. There is a policy going on that visitors can get work permit when they're in Canada, right? That's a
Yep.
line. But that means only because during COVID, the borders were closed. There was no flag pulling happening. So they just announced, yes, you can apply online when you're sitting in Canada. But how the people are projecting back home is like you are a visitor and you can get work permit. So they are not telling the basic thing what's going on happening. And everybody, we get so many calls. They say, "Oh, I'm having a visitor visa. Can you get me a work permit?" So that's not going to happen. So they extended the public policy now. The public policy is still in place till 2025. That if you're a visitor in Canada, you can always apply online and change your status from visitor to work. So, but that's again the same thing, time consuming. From Canada, also, it'll take around 3 to 4 months. So, the flagpole option is one of the good options. If you have, say, you're already as a visitor here, and now you found an employer who's offering you a job, he got you the LMIA done. Once the LMIA is done, you can always go to the border. Same day, you will get the work permit.
Got it. Yeah. So for the two things is, one is employer needs the LMIA, and this candidate needs to secure the work permit.
Correct.
So if he's in the work permit or the visitor visa, and if there is a job with the LMIA thing, he can easily apply for that.
Correct.
Okay. So another question is that um, is there any possibility that person who gets an LMIA and eventually a work permit not get enough points for the PR?
Might be.
Might be
It
right.
can. It all depends on your profile. What I do tell people is, like, on Google, just look for CRS calculator. Put on your points. It'll ask you the questions. What is your age? What's your education? What's your experience? Feed everything and see how much is your CRS. Say your CRS is 400. Example. Now you got an LMIA. You are still at 450. Might not be enough because the draw is at 490, right? So
Yeah.
then after 1 year of Canadian experience, you gain additional 60, 70 points, and then 450 plus 60, 500 plus. So, see, there is no guarantee of getting the PR using LMIA, but there are high chances because you're gaining additional 50 plus 1 year experience points, which will lead you to a good skill. Right now, CRS is very, very high. You never know, next year it'll be again more higher, or it'll come lower, or it'll see another levels. You don't know anything about it. But the only thing is, when you're on LMIA based work permit, you are enjoying all the facilities what a permanent resident enjoys. Point is, first is the health of your total family is covered. Education for your kids is covered. So you know how expensive is Canadian education. So say you
Yep.
have three kids and they are less than 22. The dependent age is 22. So they're less than 22. Two are going to university and one is going to school. So school is totally free education. And university, they'll be paying domestic fee. Like suppose for an IT now, say my son is doing an IT, he's international fees is 55,000 for UFT, but he's a citizen, he's only paying $7,000. So same thing will happen for the closed work permit. You are paying only those $7,000 as domestic fees. And then health is totally free because these are the two most expensive thing in Canada. So health and education is covered. You got a closed work permit, your spouse will get an open work permit. You can work for only this company, she will get an open work permit, she's legal to work anywhere else. So even if your PR is being delayed because of the point based system, you are still having the same facilities what a permanent resident is enjoying, except a child tax benefit. Child tax benefit
Okay.
is additional thing what Canadian government give to the permanent resident citizens. Okay, that you're not getting, but at least your health is covered, your education is totally covered. So that way, this scheme is very, very good because this is allowing you to enjoy all the facilities and also you are stepping ahead to get your PR eventually. I have not seen Sudhir anybody whose LMIs and work permits have done and they didn't get the PR. They might not
Okay.
get for 1 year, but second year they gain more points and eventually they will get through the PR. That's how it is.
Got it. There is a question by Nageshwar. So he's 31 and he's working in India. And what are the chances of him to migrate to Canada and find a job?
We cannot tell like that, Sudhir. There are a lot of
Okay.
other
Yeah,
things
I
that
know.
we have to see what is his highest education, what is his experience. So we
That's right.
need to see his resume. And that's what I
Yeah.
told you. Do your groundwork and calculate your CRS by yourself so that
Yeah.
then you will know where you are.
Yeah. So let me mention the two disclaimers. So this is a information session and this is we are talking in general. So for any of you who are specifically looking out to immigrate to Canada and if you are not in Canada, Ajay already mentioned that go to Google and search for CRS calculator. You may put in all your details, all your work experience, education, and all, and it will throw out a score. And right now, the cutoff is, I believe, it's 480 or something like that. And
Yeah.
if you have 480, yes, you are eligible to apply and you may get it in the next row. But if you are not that, you can reach out to Ajay personally because there are different provincial nomination programs and LMIA programs where you can get additional 50 points and you can come back to or sorry you can then you get eligible to apply for to come to Canada. Now there is another question, can I change closed work permit to open work permit?
Um, Technically, no, unless and until your employer abuses you, right? You have a abuse at your employment. You are getting harassment over there. Then you can report to immigration, and you have to substantially prove it that you have been harassed over there, and that's the only possibility of changing. Otherwise, in other ways, now say you got a closed work permit and your spouse is an open work permit. Eventually,
Hmm.
say after 1 year, she gets a closed work permit. In that case, you can change it to open work permit. But
Okay, fine.
otherwise, if you're single, you just came, had closed work permit, and after 6 months you decided I want to walk off and get an open work permit, that's not going to happen.
What if the employer lays off the employee?
Yes, then you have a chance. First of thing, employer cannot lay you off because that's a
Oh,
contract employer also have signed. So
sure.
Canadian government is even protecting the interest of foreign worker. It's not that employer has hired you and later after 3 months he said I don't have a job. He cannot do that. So, but in rare case scenario, his business gets shut or COVID or something comes down, then definitely you have an option, reporting to immigration that my job is not there now and I'm getting another opportunity on open work permit. So then they can consider converting it.
Sure. So that this is the most one of the most interesting questions. Recently, we heard about the H-1B program.
Mhm.
10,000 employees from who are in H-1B,
Yeah,
they can get
apply
open
for
work
that.
permit. Yeah.
Yes.
So can you just give some details about that? Because there
Yeah,
are few
this is
people in the session who is from US.
okay. Because see, that I told you initially, like technology is one of the most priority what Canadian government is putting. They definitely need more healthcare and IT stream segments. So that's the reason they basically have opened up because they are closely watching what's happening in US. You know that there are a lot of layoffs which are going on. A lot of companies are removing the people. People on H1 are on stake. some are going back to the home country. So there is a lot of uh, a situation which is not very good in US right now. Canada wants to take advantage of that. So that's the reason they basically have announced this stream, because Canada is already a shortfall of IT. So they have announced that 10,000 H1B workers can directly apply for open work permit. If I'm not wrong, it's opening on 16th of July. So
That's right.
there will be some announcements which still be coming on that. They will announce the portal links and all. But the only thing is, because it's only 10,000, you never know. It might get filled up in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or the website gets crashed or whatever is going to happen. So if still anybody need any help or something prior to that, then they can be in touch with us. And being a representative, we will have full information and access, and we can help them in applying.
Okay. So can you just briefly explain about this open work permit and closed work permit for those who doesn't know the difference about it? And there is one question which is related to it. Is the open and closed work permit people can avail OHIP?
No, open work permit people know. Like suppose you get study here and you get a postgraduate work permit. Even if you get OHIP, will be very limited. But
Okay.
closed work permit will have a full OHIP coverage. So closed work permit, the difference is it's only related to a particular employer. You cannot work for any other employer or any other occupation. That's closed. Open work permit, it's open. You can legally work for any employer. I have done my IT, but when I come here on open work permit, I didn't get an IT job, right? I might got a job in an office company as an administrator. I'm good. I can still work over there. That's an open work permit. Any employer can hire me if I'm able to prove that I can work. Closed work permit, I got it with XYZ company, and tomorrow I'm not liking the job. I might find no, this is not my stream. I cannot leave the job. I cannot leave that employer because I'm bonded to that employer. So, in simple language, in India, they say you have signed a contract with IBM. So, IBM has hired you. You signed a contract. You bonded it that for 2 years you cannot leave them. So, it's a similar thing over here, which is called as closed work permit.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ajay. So another question by Amit is that he is working as a full-time employee in Ontario and currently in Canada for the past 3 months. So do he need to show the fund under FSW, the minimum fund?
If he's applying now before completing his 1 year of Canadian experience, then definitely funds requirement is there. But if he's applying after 1 year, when he have Canadian experience, then there is no funds
That's
requirement.
okay. So second question is it's a kind of I mean we have to be careful. Can I apply for PR alone and later will sponsor my wife for PR?
It all depends upon your points. If your points
Yeah.
sometimes happens when you include your spouse, your points goes less. Sometimes
Yes.
if your spouse education experience is good, your points remain same or it increases. So calculate your CRs, see your situation. If you're thinking if you're adding your spouse and you're losing 20, 30 points, which is huge, then first you can do it on your own and then later you can sponsor your spouse. But that also you should put a valid reason. When you're applying for PR and if you say you're married, the question will be why are you not sponsoring your spouse along with you? So if you're genuine, then it is good. But if you're not genuine, then IRCC will think you're playing with the system. And if you're playing with the system, then it can go against you. So you have to be careful doing that particular thing.
So, what is the repercussion of providing a misinformation, like a lie in the application? What will happen?
That's the biggest crime for immigration. If you're lying and if they found you're misrepresenting, they will ban you for 5 years. So IRCC is very strict with that. We never recommend people doing any misrepresentations on their applications. Like I'll give you an example. A person has applied for a Canadian PR. He has put his experience as software engineer. Probably he manipulated his experience. He got all the documents, and later, once IRCC processing the PR, they found when you applied 5 years back for your US application, you never shown this experience. You had shown your experience working as a teacher somewhere. Example. So IRCC will send you a PFL, a procedural fairness letter, gives you 30 days time that when you applied for US, why didn't you show that experience? And suddenly how this experience cropped up when you did the Canadian experience. When you're not able to provide a gentle or proper experience, they will misrepresent you. They'll put you for 5 years ban. And that's very, very difficult. I'm telling you, Canada shares the data with six other countries: Canada, US, UK, Germany, Australia, and one more country. So, any of these applications, if you have applied, be very careful when you're applying Canadian application that your data or information matches with what you provided earlier. Because if you have not done that, they keep cross checking the data and you will be in a big mess. So,
Yeah.
Never do misrepresentation on your application.
Yep. Even I have seen people doing misrepresentation and right now suffering. He's not able to bring his wife for the past 5 years because
Yeah.
he said married no in when he actually applied, and then when he tried to sponsor the marriage date, the date of the marriage was previous prior to
Previous to
the
that is applied.
application date,
Yeah.
and he's right now having a hard time bringing the wife and kid to Canada.
Correct.
So,
That's how it
yeah.
is.
Yep. So another question is from a student. She's saying that she's working 35 hours a week, but the offer letter says part time. So is she eligible to apply a PR under the express entry?
She will be eligible, but when the ITA comes and when we have to provide the proper documentation, her job letter should support with what she's saying. You can put 35 hours, that's okay, which qualifies her for full time, but definitely she need to speak to her employer when he's giving her 35 hours, then why he's putting part time? Part time is only 20 hours, so 35 is full time. So it can create a, right now for applying, anybody can apply. You can write anything, right? But when the
Mhm.
invitation come, that time you have to give all the documents. And that time, if your documents are not supporting with the information you feed it, then again there will be questioning, and your employer need to support you on that particular thing.
Okay. So for those who joined late, I'll just give a highlight about what we discussed in the first 5 minutes. So Ajay said that Express Entry is a federal program. On top of this Express Entry, there are a lot of other provincial nomination programs and other process, LMIA and all, by which you can immigrate to Canada and you can start your life in Canada. So if you have missed it, we have the recording in YouTube. You can ping me or I can post the link in the YouTube and sorry, linked in the comments. You can watch the YouTube recording because we discussed few questions in the beginning related to what are the programs which is helpful to come to Canada. So please go and watch the uh, recording. So now another question is like students, right? So do you process student do you help students to come here for work studying?
Yes,
So
Sudhir, we
how?
do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's we represent more than 150 colleges and universities directly or through our agents. So yes, we can help the students getting their studies fulfilled. They can come for college, they can come for universities, whatever their options. So how it works is there are two options. Either you have done grade 12 and you want to come for undergrad programs, then IELTS requirement is minimum 6, but definitely we require 6.57, which gives you higher chances. And second stream is that you've done your graduation and you want to come for your postgrad. So IELTS minimum requirement is 6.5, but again, we recommend around 7. So if anybody is interested in doing studies, then we need their resume, all their academics from grade 10 onwards, and IELTS. IELTS academic is mandatory thing. So once we have those documents, then we will check as per his like background which courses will be suitable or which streams we can put them. Then my study team will do back and forth with them, choosing a college or a university. We get an offer letter from them, and then we apply for the student visa. The good thing from India, the files are going very, very fast right now. You do apply anything, visitor visas are coming in less than 15 days, super visas are very fast, student visas are coming in 1.5 months. So if anybody is listening me out from India or US, those two countries are doing very, very fast right now. So we can work on the September intake is right now sold out. You will not get anything, but the next intake is January or May. So we can help you out with those intakes if anybody's interested.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
They can email us. They can just send an email to support at lccimmigration.ca. Support
Okay.
at lccimmigration.ca.
Okay, Pratyush, I think your question is answered. You can reach out to Ajay at support at lccimmigration.ca. So again, Ajay's contact details I'll be providing in the comments. So another question is some James is from Kenya. He's asking, do I need an English test or English certification to come to Canada? What do you think?
Is he asking for the study?
No, mostly migration. This
No,
question
for PR,
was
IELTS is mandatory. Even if you're from English speaking country, even if you're from US, IELTS is mandatory for that. But yes, if you're applying for a student visa, some countries I know, like we do a lot of student visas for Nigerians, and that's an English speaking country, and I'm sure it is the same for Kenya. So for those countries, the English test is not mandatory for applying as a student. But anything else applying into immigration, any stream, IELTS is mandatory.
Okay, so next question is, once the student comes here and once so imagine that student is going for a 1 year course or a 2 year course, how can he apply for a PGWP, or can you just explain that process? This to just help the students understand how that PGWP process works and when they can start the job search.
Okay. So if the program is 1 year, if somebody has done 1 year program, then he's eligible for 1 year work permit. So I recommend as soon as you finish the course and you get your transcripts, apply for your work permit. Because you get into an employed status and your work permit process time right now from in Canada is around 4 months. So when you're in employed status, you're legally allowed to work. So you can start working day one, you applied for your work permit. So at least what happens is you're getting 1 year work permit plus additional these 4 months. So you're gaining almost around 16 months experience. Similarly, if you are for 2 years course, you're eligible for 3 years work permit. As soon as you apply your work permit, technically or legally, you are allowed to work in Canada. So for 2 years, you will get 3 years work permit. So always apply as soon as your documents are ready after your study so that you gain those additional months which you're getting while the processing of your work permits.
Okay, so when the student is working, right, should he be working in a full time, or can he work as a contract, incorporated contract, or a T4 contract? Will it affect his status when he try to apply for a PR?
Right now, they have given it, even in the students, earlier it was only 20 hours per week. But now, because again, after COVID, labor shortage, and they want to help students, they're told that you can work full time. So, students can always work full time, but I don't recommend getting incorporation done at the student level. When you're the worker, now you've finished your studies, you're on work permits. Like I've seen a lot of people who do trucking over here. So, in the trucking, they get incorporated because then the trucking company can directly pay to incorporation. So that's fair enough. You can be self-employed, but not at the student level. At the worker level, you can do that particular thing.
Okay, and that's a good information. So now the next question is, um, I'm a student and my course will be completing on September. I have to study permit till December. Will I be able to go back to home country and re-enter with a study permit, but after completing the course without getting work permit?
Not recommended.
Not recommended, right?
Not
Okay.
recommended. You should apply for your work permit, and still you should not leave the country till you don't get your work permit. It's recommended have your PGWP in hand and then leave the country.
Okay. To be eligible under CEC and claim points for Canadian and foreign work experience, do the foreign work experience and Canadian work experience have to be in the same NOC code?
No,
No, not right.
it can be
Okay.
different.
It can be different. Okay. If I'm in Canada and working for an American company, is it possible to consider it as an Canadian work experience when you're applying for PR
So he's in Canada, but he's
in
working
Canada?
for the US company. Is that US company stationed in Canada? Do they have office in Canada or they're stationed in US? If they have an office in Canada and he's paying in Canadian dollars the salary, then he claims Canadian experience. But if he's sitting in Canada and the office is in US and he's being paid in US dollars, then he's not considered as a Canadian experience class.
Okay, got it. And is there any restriction on open work permit? So, like, can the person in open work permit do two jobs?
He can do 10 jobs. They can work 100
Okay.
hours. Nobody cares. That's okay.
Okay.
Open work permit is open work permit.
Okay. So another thing is there have been a couple of questions on the PNP. So it's a generic question. So which province is best for the PNP? So do you say that it depends on the person to person
Depends upon
and
profile to profile. There's no
okay,
best and bad. It depends upon the profile. Some provinces are supporting low wage employees. Some are supporting ITs. Alberta is supporting IT and healthcare. So nobody knows like that. You can't tell that.
okay. So those who joined late, I'm again just repeating. So for PNP, it totally depends upon your profile, individual profile, your education, your experience, your NOC code, etc. There is no generic answer for that because the PNP requirements vary from PN, province to province. So it would be better in case you can get in touch with Ajay's team. So Ajay has already mentioned the support at LCC Immigration. I have already posted that link in the comments. You can also reach out to that. So what happens is you for PNP you can easily reach out to Ajay. So now Ajay, another question is I'm just navigating away from our like professional life. parents' work permit. So one of the reason me being in Canada is because of the super visa. So I was in US. My mom parents can visit only for 6 months, but here it was 2 years, right? So now they said that it is 5 years.
5 years.
So can you just explain about super visa, how parents can come along with us and stay here?
See, Canada always work on family reunifications. They're always good in reunifying your spouses with you, with your parents. So they're very, very good in that. Now, recently, for last 6 months, it's super visa. You can stay continuously for 5 years and again extendable for 2 years. So it's around 7 years. Earlier, it was a stretch of 2 years, but now they have extended to 5 years. So super visa works in that way. Application is very similar like visiting visa, but the only requirement in super visa is you should do 100,000 insurance for each of the parent, because Canadian government don't want that they should be liable tomorrow for their health if anything, God forbid, goes wrong. So you have to do an insurance, mandatory health insurance for 100,000 for each of them. Like if you have two parents, 100,000, 100,000. But that's not that expensive because it's ultimately covering the health for them. So if you do that, and as I told you, from suppose you're sitting in India, and not like you are here and your parents are sitting in India, the processing time right now, the applications which we're getting is less than 15 days, and people are getting the stamping. Then you can come to the airport, they will stamp your passport for 5 years. So you don't have to exit the countries. You can stay here for 5 years, your insurance is covered, you can work on that. And down the line, they always have parental PRs, right? 2020, they opened it, then after COVID, they couldn't do it. So if they open up the parental PR, depends upon the lottery system or what streams they open. So that time, you can also eligible to apply parental PR for your parents. Being they're sitting already in Canada, Canadian government know they already have the background checks done because they already stamped one visas. So the processing might be a little bit quicker than the people who are sitting outside. So that's how it basically works.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Ajay. Um, so Garima had asked a question like, how long do you need to work for an employer before they provide you with LMIA?
There's no requirement of working with the employer for LMIA. You join the employer today on open work permit, and later your employer is ready to support. He can support you with LMIA and get your open work permit converted to closed work permit. So there is no requirement as such. It all depends upon you and your employer. How good are the relations? What are the requirements they have? If they're hiring somebody with the same skill set what you have, you can always say that hire me, keep me into a closed work permit, so that which helps me in getting my permanent residency is much faster. So they can do that. There's no such requirement.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are going to take a last three questions. So one question is one Akshay has asked like his closed work permit is expiring, and he has already submitted the documents for PR and waiting for the results. Should I opt for work permit extension, or is there any other way?
If your IT has already come and you've submitted all your documents, then you can do is bridging work permit, because your work permit is expiring, but the IT has already come. So there is something called as a bridging work permit. So you can apply bridging work permit. So they will give you for next 1 year or 1.5 year, or they will say till the time your PR gets processed. So you're safe, you're good, you don't lose anything. So just apply for a bridging work permit in that.
Sure. Thank you. Last two questions. Does a student require a full-time job to apply for spouse open work permit extension along with PGWP after study permit?
Come again.
Does a student require a full-time job to apply for spouse open work permit? So he's a student, his wife is a open work permit. So no,
Student don't need a full-time job to apply.
no,
Student
no.
is student.
After the
After the
education,
post, yeah.
yeah,
If a student has gone to a postgraduate work permit now, then the requirement is he should have a full-time job to sponsor his wife on open work permit. But the good catch is earlier it was there were specific knock codes like knock OAB. If you're working in that, then only you can sponsor your spouse. But again, IRCC have done a lot of leniency in this. Now, if you're working on anything, you're just working as a labor or you're working in a warehouse, but it is a full-time job, you're still eligible to sponsor your spouse for an open work permit.
sure. Last question, but before that, I'll ask you something. This is from me. How can a person who sits in India, Kenya, Nigeria, or Singapore identify a fake consultant or a fake offer letter asking money and all? How to recognize the genuine versus fake?
See, consultant thing, it's very easy. Whether the consultant is a genuine or a ghost consultant, you can always, if even if you just Google it, list of RCICs, you can go to. We have a body like earlier it was ICCRC. Now our body name is CICC. like Canadian Immigration Citizenship in Canada. So you can just Google CICC, or you can just Google list of regulated immigration consultants. So it will pop up a window, and you can just type the name, the person who is interacting with you or coordinating with you. So if his name is there on the list, you can still find whether he's right now currently working, because a lot of things people are happening. Somebody's license is revoked or suspended, but still that name is there. But if you click on that, it will show if there is any disciplinary action going on against him, or if he's suspended or license is revoked. You can see all the information for the consultant, what is his company name, how he's working and all. So that will prove that the consultant is genuine or not. That's point one. Point number two, coming to the employment side, yes, there is a lot of frauds, there is a lot of fakes. So I'm sure the people who are working with some employers are generically through immigration consultants. That's what I feel. So you can always search for an immigration consultant. But if you're working directly with an employer and who is projecting that he's an employer, he have a lot of requirements, he have hotels here and doing that, do a thorough due diligence, because nobody can prove it whether he's wrong or right unless and until you dig it. Do your due diligence. If you have somebody in Canada, ask them to check whether they have that physical location or not, or they're just projecting the address, because there are a lot of numbered companies in Canada, right, which are legal. So but you sitting in India will not see where is that numbered company, what it is going. So check the complete addresses, check how the presence in Google, write emails to them, and then you can identify. But no hard and fast rule to get these guys hold of it. It's like that. You have to do
Yeah.
your due diligence on that.
Thanks, Ajay. So I just usually follow a process. If it is too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So if you say that, if you get an offer letter saying that you are getting $10,000 a month,
Yeah,
probably that's going to be fake, because
fake.
that is too luring, and I don't think that might be correct. So do your due diligence before you pay up any money to any of these consultants. Especially just as Ajay mentioned, just go to the Google and search for the RCIC consultants, and click on their name to see whether they are in the good standing or do they have any disciplinary actions.
Yeah.
Thank you. And last question, as I mentioned, I came to Canada on a closed work permit but was laid off in March. I haven't been able to find employment because of it, and no one wants to sponsor a work permit for me. Closed work permit, got fired.
Yeah, technically it should not happen because employer also had signed a contract. But if they had issued you an ROE, a record of employment, probably if they've laid off, then you can only thing you can do is you can approach IRCC. You can raise a web form and send it to them. Okay, this is the situation. I came on a closed work permit, and my employer laid me off with the proper documentation. If they're given, they must have given you an ROE. So attach that and send it to them and request them, then can I be eligible to apply for an open work permit? So if IRCC agree on that, that case you can always apply an open work permit. But otherwise, yes, you have to keep looking for any other employer who is ready to hire you, and then they can do an LMIA and do a closed work permit on that company name. Then this will get invalid.
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. So, just a recap for the session, we discussed about the express entry, we discussed about the PNPs, we discussed about the LMIA process and its time, we discussed about super visa, we discussed about students' work permit, and we answered a lot of questions. And in case you missed any of these things, we have the YouTube session, or at least you can replay it in LinkedIn, and you can get information on that. Before we close, Ajay, would you like to provide the details once more, your company details, so that it will help everyone who is in the group?
Yeah, you can just Google LCC Immigration. It's quite simple because you will get my website popped up from there. You will get just, I recommend people see my Google reviews. So that will gain you a confidence why you should hire us. We have almost, I think, around 150 more reviews, and everything is 5 star. We don't even have a single review less than 5 star. So that's how we basically work. So just Google LCC Immigration. You will get our phone numbers. You will get our email IDs. But the best email ID to reach us, I already told Sudhir, it is support at LCC. It's London, Chicago, Chicago. So support at lccimmigration.ca. Just ping us. You will get a response within 24 hours. But I only recommend people because we are super busy here. So just do your basic homework, basic groundwork things, and then send us your resumes so that we can answer you properly. If you just keep asking some basic questions which are available on Google, we might not able to answer you. So that's the only thing. But yes, definitely, whatever your logical questions are there, whatever your doubts are there, my team is there to handle, and we will always help you out with that particular thing.
That's great. Thanks, Ajay. Thanks for accepting my invite and providing us with a lot of information. I don't think anybody else, as an immigration agent, has provided these many details in a public forum. This will actually help out a lot of people who is looking to immigrate to Canada to understand what is the right process and what is the wrong process. I really appreciate you spending time and joining us for the session. And thanks a lot.
Thank you,
And
Sudhir. Thank you for having me. And I'm here to help. Like our basic agenda of our company is give a sincere, fair, and transparent advice. We are not behind the money because from India also we have very good reputation. Like I told you, whosoever from Hyderabad they know LCC Infotech what it was. So we are running the same stream. We are always there to help, and we do business from $100 to 100,000. Right? We do startups which are very expensive. We do everything, but we will tell you upfront what are your chances. If we think we are able to help, then only we'll pick the file. Unlike other people who are just behind, oh, okay, somebody is coming retaining, take him on, show them the stars, and later end up nothing. So that will you will not find with us. We are very, very genuine on that. We'll help you till whatever we can do it from our best.
thanks, Ajay. And for those who know, I conduct the Canada IT Club sessions. Tomorrow we have a session on introduction to Chat GPT, and Wednesday we have a session on the project managers meetup in Canada. So if you are interested, please feel free to join us. That is at evening 9 p.m. in LinkedIn audio room. Okay, so try to join us, and we'll take it up from there. Thanks, Ajay.
Bye, Sudhi.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.